Hello everybody, I hope you're having a good week. I wanted to pick up on the wellness video series that I've been working on and today focus on both the loss that we experience from COVID-19 and how to cope with that, and then also how to get some control back in a situation that feels often out of our control. So on the first front, there's been a lot of things as the schedule has continued to change for us, whether we return to school or even earlier on with the cancellations that happened with the activities or the expectations that we had for our semester at school. And then more and more things have been either taken off or left unknown at this stage. And where that leaves us is in a kind of constant cycle of loss, where there's a sport that we're really looking forward to playing, or whether it's something more routine like the daily interactions we had with people in the hallway, or the ability to go just run out to a convenience store and pick something up without really having to think about risk or exposure to something so serious. And so from those experiences can come a number of different emotional reactions. And some of it can be, sadness or feeling really lethargic with low energy, or feeling really frustrated or angry out of nowhere. And if those emotional experiences are happening to you, I would encourage you to, for one, accept them just as these are the things that are coming up for me right now, and to look for how those might be connected to the situation that we're all in and manifestations of the grief and loss that we're experiencing from a number of the things that have been taken away. When that happens, it's often tempting to compare ourselves to the stories we hear on the news, or maybe even through friends or family, of more serious cases and say, well, I know my situation is really minor, or this doesn't matter, especially in comparison to people that are really suffering or have lost those close to them or are in jeopardy themselves. And while that's probably helpful for perspective, it's also important to keep in mind that these losses do matter to us, and the experiences that we have and the emotional reactions are real and they matter. So by sharing those experiences or those reactions with our family or our parents or our friends, it can help us sort of get outside input. It can help us by just expressing that, and it's also helpful to know that we're not dealing with these things alone. Connected to that, it's often possible to see is like, well, everything's out of my control, and this situation has just taken over my life. And while it feels like there are a lot of things, and there are many things that we just have to accept, like the extension with when we can return back to life as normal, or when we can return back to school, is something that we have very little control over. But there are other things that we do have control over. And so what I would look for is just those little things you can make happen every day that allow you to make your day-to-day existence better. There's a family not too far from where I live, where when I go walk the dog up to the park, I walk past the entrance to their house, and they have this kind of nice flower pot at the end of their walkway, which just says, please take one of the flowers. Together we'll get through COVID-19. And it's just like free flowers like that I assume the kids from the house maybe are picking from their garden and then putting out in this little bowl at the end. But just little things like that brighten other people's days and then can make us feel really good as well, are worth doing. Once we recognize that we do have some control and learn to just kind of adjust our expectations to match the things that we don't have control over, and accept that the impact of those things is actually valid, the easier each day can be, and little by little we're going to get through this. Which raises the final point I wanted to address, which is that it is important to keep in mind that this is temporary. And while we don't know exactly when it will end, we can look to places like China, which now life is returning back to normal, or even Hokkaido in Japan, which was hit early. Now they're able to go back to school and see that this is temporary. So while the losses are significant and meaningful right now, hopefully they're only temporary, and we'll be able to go back to many of the things that we found fulfilling previously. So hopefully that's helpful for you, and looking forward to when we can return back to life as normal. But in the meantime, take care, and I'll keep trying to take on different topics.